Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to game number 2 between Pbhead and UnbreakableDrew. In this best of 3 series, Pbhead cleanly taking game number 1. We're going to have to see in this game if UnbreakableDrew can pull it back, take one off PB, and push this to a game number 3. Pbhead already revealing a significant amount of iron, aluminum. He's going to use that and just immediately throw down a scientific headquarters. Now this is a bit interesting because he does not have access to good silicon or water anywhere nearby. There is usable water, but it's not great. It's not exactly what you're looking for. You can get a nice, reasonable diamond going, but he's not even going to be able to link it up to his headquarters due to the hills that are in the way. And Pbhead not necessarily with the strongest start we've ever seen out of him. Unfortunately, it looks like UnbreakableDrew is also not going to be the best start ever. He's gone scavenger and he's taken one carbon tile with no adjacency bonuses, so even though it is a high carbon tile, he's going to need to find just a little bit more to really make use of that scavenger colony this game. Pbhead already hitting HQ level 2. No big surprise there. He grabbed up a lot of iron with his found. He was able to sell that off. Pushed the aluminum and the steel he would require much faster. And now he's gone ahead and established solid aluminum production with a low tile and a medium tile available to him. And just bringing in some decent water from a water pump. No potential adjacency. Maybe a bit of a misplay there out of PB taking this water pump rather than this one. In case the game goes a little too nuts, you can always take slant drilling in case things get out of hand, whereas this water tile has no potential for even that, with every single tile next to it completely blocked off by either hills or a crater. You get the point. Just a little bit strange of a choice there out of PB. Shouldn't really be relevant in a 1v1, but you never know. Maybe slant drilling pops up as an auction. Alright. Geotherm auction coming out at first here. Looks like UnbreakableDrew not going to value... Whoa, there we go. Still pushing to that 28,000. That's interesting. Alright, so 28,000 for the Geotherm over to UnbreakableDrew. He's perfectly willing to take those claims, valuing the Geotherm as much as a standard claim, which I think is a good call, generally speaking. You more or less pigeonhole yourself into geothermals for power that way, but that's not the worst thing in the world, and it still gets you an extra claim you can go ahead and just spend somewhere else. I'm still concerned about Drew's carbon income. He's only sitting on 3 a second, as we can see right now. He might need to secure a little more in the future, and unfortunately for him, there's just not very good carbon on the map. He could take this high tile, bump it up to 5 on 3 tiles. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still not necessarily what you look for. Drew is going to take a silicon quarry. We'll have to see what else he does. Likely going to be looking for some water, possibly looking for some more carbon. He is not going to be able to get any adjacency bonuses established with his aluminum, as Pbhead has gone ahead and blocked those off, but he still definitely is already on decent aluminum production. Pbhead's already collecting a large amount himself. He shouldn't have to worry about that too much this game. Pbhead pushing to HQ level 3 already. No big surprise there. He's managed to sell off steel and a little bit of aluminum, but mostly also this water to go ahead and push to the glass he needs for HQ level 3. It'll be interesting to see what he does with this map as it sits right now, though. Very awkward map to be using. Not a great map for a scientific player, realistically. And I'm really curious to see exactly what he's going to do to find his edge this game and take victory if he can pull it off against Drew. We do see a silicon quarry coming down. Reasonable thing for a scientist still. Not necessarily what you want to do. Maybe glass is a little bit better if you can pull it off, but silicon certainly a lot safer in that you can't get blown up. You can't have your glass stolen through mutinies. So still a very reasonable decision. Pbhead has also managed to push through and purchase up an extra claim, which he is going to commit to another electrolysis reactor, missing out on the exact adjacency bonuses that he's going to want, but still getting 3 electrolysis reactors secured and not needing to buy up water for any of them. We can see that there is a carbon shortage going on. Drew not really taking any kind of advantage off of this. He did not press his resources into it. He even sold the carbon off a bit early. He actually just spent the carbon straight onto a geotherm, trying to get that power online. Maybe a bit of a questionable decision when he's running on so little carbon and it has become so expensive. Frequently, we'll see carbon shortages help out scavenger players, give them a bit more access to the cash that they're so desperately scraping for in the early game. But in this case, that does not look like what's going to happen, and Drew instead is going to be suffering from this, unable to push to his expansion as quickly as maybe he would hope. Another geotherm auction this time. Drew once again pushing for 28,000 for this geotherm. I have to worry about this a little bit because in order to establish this geotherm, it's going to cost him, we can see, 180 carbon. 180 more of this $67 carbon right now in order to put down a geotherm that will not be making him any kind of money and is simply added on to his debt at this point. You really have to wonder about that play. And if it was the correct decision when you've already got yourself into such a hole by not establishing a whole lot of carbon production early as a scavenger player. We can also see there's a glass furnace down that's burning money. There's an electrolysis reactor down that's burning money. And I'm very concerned about Drew right now and where he's at in this game. Pbhead, on the other hand, has gotten a great windfall. We saw that, I believe, a steel shortage came through not long ago. A glass surplus is hit. This is going to make it even easier for Pbhead to go ahead and push through to HQ level 4, maybe get some farms established based off of that with glass's price being so low. We can see he waited all the way for the surplus to finish before hitting that upgrade, making sure he would get the absolute cheapest glass possible. And we can see Pbhead will immediately go ahead and move into farms and solar panels based off of this, just not wanting to get too much debt off of the very, very high cost power right now, and wanting to make sure he is established into that fantastic food production that's very easy to move into this game due to the random glass surplus. We're going to need to see some kind of counterplay from Drew to deal with this. He's not going to be able to really use black market very well. He's having so much trouble upgrading because he just does not have the carbon for it. Usually we can see the glass getting in the way, but Drew, in fact, producing glass at a massive loss right now. Doesn't have enough carbon still coming in. He's going to need to hit that upgrade very quickly and potentially establish another carbon quarry, make sure he's actually taking some kind of benefit off of the high carbon price instead of allowing it to kill him, and maybe scrap some of everything he has down and just send it all into the very lucrative and very easy to move into food right now. Pbhead has decided he does not want to sit and wait around for Drew to find a way to worm his way back into this game from the horrible start that Drew suffered from this game. He simply is going to want to kill his opponent as fast as he can manage. He's pushed up to 20,000 funds. He's going to need a lot more than that to do it. Looks like just choosing to secure a couple stock prices and a couple stocks, and once again moving into another upgrade, knowing he can make good use of these, potentially moving into, it looks like, more power instead of the aluminum that he's going to have no use for most of the rest of this game, and also actually going to go ahead and move into more carbon for himself, which Unbreakable Drew still hasn't established. I believe this will give Pbhead significantly higher carbon production than Drew has secured. And suddenly, Drew is just letting the carbon shortage kill him and letting his opponent take an advantage that he didn't have to this game by simply not reacting to the randomness that has occurred with this game's shortages and surpluses. Pirates coming out. 20,000, I mean, the Pirates are worth a lot to both players because carbon has gotten so expensive, quite frankly, but I don't know if Drew can afford to truly push into them. We can see PB is going to be the one to go ahead and grab them up for that $24,000 value. He might even simply use this to take away Drew's carbon. He looks like he's actually going to go for the water and silicon of Drew. A bit of an interesting choice, but slightly understandable, I suppose, given that PB has already established good carbon for himself, but not necessarily what you want to do. Unbreakable Drew also is taking tiles away from PB. He was considering taking some of the water up to the north, it looks like, but he's not going to manage to establish it. He's going to have to make do with tiles that don't have as many adjacency bonuses. He simply takes this one low water tile. Not really what you want. A bit of a waste for sure, as there's really no chance of getting decent adjacency bonuses with this. A mutiny is not really what you want to spend if you absolutely have to get adjacency bonuses. Just not going to work out in PB's favor. So a bit of a misplay allowing this tile to get claimed when his other tile got blocked, but still not the end of the world. PB is, after all, 2 HQ upgrades over his opponent, and a wasted tile here or there still's not going to kill him at this stage of the game. Water doing very well. Shouldn't really be any surprise here. It's actually hurting the food production quite badly as PB is not able to use his scientific bonus to great effect to this game, and he may need to transition out of the farms before too long. On the other hand, already sitting on about $20,000 and a lot of water income for himself, and does in fact go ahead and blow the mutiny on the water pump. A good move still, making use of having to deal with that tile. And we can see that this water pump is pulling in a good $120 a second. It also beefs up the value on his other water pump to $120 a second. Definitely a strong play by PB. I would even love to potentially go ahead and see some nuke play coming out on things like this water tile to punish Drew even more for how far behind he has fallen. Drew does manage to go ahead and push up to HQ level 4, taking some kind of benefit off of what Glass has been doing this game. And we actually see, wow, another random Glass surplus. That's ridiculous. Apparently the game is absolutely sure it doesn't want to have Glass stay high at all. Looks like PB has managed to sell out of any Glass that he had, if he had any. And nobody really going to get hit too hard by that Glass surplus, as Unbreakable Drew has managed to turn off his furnace. However, this has been an effectively wasted tile all game long, and that's definitely something you can't afford when your opponent is sitting on a good 5 or 6 tiles up on you still at this stage of the game, with Scavenger level 4 up against the Scientist level 4. Water Engine comes on out. Anybody want Water Engine when water is $76? If either players bid on this, it's basically instant suicide to my mind. I doubt it's going to happen. Both of them let it on go. Nobody wants to trade out their $29 fuel for $72 water right now. Shouldn't be any real surprise. I'm a little surprised, though, that we haven't seen PB make any kind of transition with his electrolysis reactors. They are making decent money, but perhaps instead of pushing to additional water, it would have been a simpler option to go ahead and just grab up what he had already secured. Still a decent play overall. These are still making money after all, but there was a potential option that was left to the wayside by PB. More and more stocks getting purchased, only 4 more necessary. This Offworld is pretty much the definition of unnecessary this game. With steel up at $74, it could have been canceled when it was constructed, and PB likely could have pushed to finish this well before he did. We should see a control shift down momentarily. Might not be quite enough to finish off Drew. He does need a good 28,000. PB only sitting on about 85% of that right now, since Drew did manage to finish up and purchase his very last stock, but I don't think PB's going to even get a single send off that Offworld market this game. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us, folks. PB takes an honestly unsurprising 2-0 victory over Unbreakable Drew. Not a bad game, once again played by Drew, but not reacting well to the random events that were occurring definitely killed him. He got off to a bad found. He started to recover from that okay and get the basic idea going, but unfortunately, when you establish your basic production and don't have any adjacency bonuses, it's not giving you the efficiency you really need to keep up with your opponent's production. When you're spending 1 whole water for simply 1/4 of an oxygen and 1/2 of fuel, and you compare that to your opponent, who is managing to make, on one of his tiles at least, a whole fuel and 1/2 an oxygen from just no water, because he's scientific, you're kind of in a lot of trouble and things aren't going to go your way. Would have liked to see Drew react a bit better to the carbon shortage. Would have liked to see him maybe not go for as much power so early, which wasn't going to successfully make him as much money, especially after the carbon shortage had already hit. Could have kept the tiles, but simply not established the geotherms immediately, and maybe been in a slightly better spot and been able to push through and really keep up with PB that game. But PB truly overrunning that one. It wasn't immediate. Drew didn't completely let himself go by just ignoring things that he shouldn't have, but PB definitely the clear leader, literally from the start to the end of that one. Played it out very, very well and took a very nice, easy victory for himself over Unbreakable Drew in game number 2. So that is going to go ahead and wrap our series up. That was a best of 3. PB goes ahead and takes it 2-0. He is going to move on to the round of 4, the semifinals of this tournament. We don't know who his opponent is yet, as Indecision and GameSlayer have yet to play. That's going to be happening tomorrow, I believe, around 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's EDT. And we'll go ahead and find out who Pbhead's opponent is then. All right, guys.